Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Crazy Talk. In today's episode, I wanted to dive into what it's like to spend the holidays alone from the perspective of someone with borderline personality disorder. And I guess, not really spending it alone, but what it's like for us when we don't have our families. I don't know about y'all, but I know for me, I haven't had my family around for holidays since my grandma died in 2016. So God, that's been 6 years. They all did their own thing. They would get together, but I was never invited, or I was invited at the very last moment. So eventually, I just stopped going. I felt really awkward. It felt really just, you could tell that they didn't want me there or that I didn't belong. When you're the black sheep of the family, it's very obvious. So, with us with BPD, we're easily triggered. We're already very emotional. And holidays just exasperate that. It brings up painful memories. It brings up joyful memories. It just brings everything up. For me, I really miss my grandma. Those were great times. But mostly it just makes me sad. It makes me wish I had a normal family. Which I'm sure most of y'all can relate to, especially, my partner, he goes and does his thing with his family. And that triggers me so bad. So I don't go. I do not go because I get resentful, and I'm not here to ruin anybody else's holiday. I don't want to ruin their day. I'm just going to be miserable and sappy on my couch in my PJs, watching Grey's Anatomy or jamming out to Taylor Swift. Okay. Because it's just too hard. And I wonder, do y'all get triggered by seeing normalcy? Like, it just makes me so jealous. Because, even those of us that don't talk to our parents, it's not because we don't like them. It's not because we don't want a parental figure in our life. We do. We all crave a good parent, So, and that's what it makes you sad. It makes you mourn for something you never had. So that's why I decided to do this episode, because let's get in next to Thanksgiving. I can feel my feelings arising, so I'm sure y'all's are. And yeah, tune in if you're feeling lonely. Tune in if you want to figure out how to stop that rage that you do every year and ruin everybody's party. This is what this episode's about. Okay, so let's get to it.
Abundance flows to me when I get out of my own way. Life is so easy when I focus on what is great. I am worthy of reciprocated energy. I am worthy of a love that loves as deep as me. I am worthy of aligning with my higher self. I am worthy of desiring miracles.
If you're anything like me, which, I'm sure some of you are, then you before you're aware of your true self, of your symptoms and your triggers and all that, holidays can be very, very bad. Okay. I was the type of person that every single event was being ruined. I would get mad and run away, leaving, kind of basically find any way to make it about myself. That's not what I was purposefully doing, but, reflecting back, that's what I was doing. My feelings just felt larger than life. So I was just like, things aren't going the way I want. Things aren't going the way I expected, or I'm triggered and I'm just raging. And that's why it's so, again, I'm stressing again, that's why it's so important that we do that self-awareness. We dive deep, because for us with BPD, it's very easy to make seem like it's very easy for it to look and appear like it's somebody else and like it's everybody else. But is it really? Soul searching, babe. That's, I'm a big, like, before I make any big rational decision now, I really have to sit with the thinking. I have to check my own brain. Like, I go down a whole checklist. And that's very vital. That way we're not reacting. We're sitting with our feelings and actually, figuring out what the root of the problem is. So like before, like my first Christmas with my partner, I did not spend in this house. I ran away, got in the car, left, said, do it without me. I'm not coming back, all because, he didn't want to do it when I was ready at 6 a.m. because I'm a child for holidays. They're not very like holiday-ish, and that used to be really upsetting for me because my family was big on holidays, and that's how I expected it to be. I wanted everybody to be big on holidays. I wanted it to be a big thing, and they were just like, but and you can't really push anybody to do anything. That's what I've learned. I'm still going to be big on holidays, and I'm still going to be like dancing Christmas music and go all out for decoration. Okay. But I just don't need, it's just so important to really realize that you can't force people to do that. With BPD, we like to feel like everybody should do what we think they should do. But anyways, yeah, so I got mad and I raged, I left, and my whole Christmas was ruined because then I was mad that I wasn't here to watch my stepson open his gifts, okay? Even though I told them to do it, I'm like, I don't fucking care, right? And that's what we say so often. We don't care. We don't want to be a part of it. We don't want to participate. Just leave me alone. But that's not really what we mean. Really mean is I'm hurting right now and I don't know how to say it. Please love me and please wait for me to get out of this. Most of the time, that's what we mean. But it took me some years to really realize why I was reacting that way. And it wasn't really because of them. It was just because I was being triggered, and all these painful emotions that I'm not talking about are just built up. They're building up inside of me. They're festering, and then I blow up, which we often do, right? Because we feel like we're not allowed to talk about our problems. When we feel like we're not allowed to talk about these sadness that we're holding, the fears that we have, the anxieties that we have, or, I hate talking about that I want my mom. I feel like I don't know, like a little baby, I guess, even though I'm a normal human being. Everybody wants their mom, but, society just teaches us that that's not okay for us to say. We're crying too much. We're whining if we say what our wants and desires. We're whining if we're sad about something. But honestly, that's the only way through it, honey. y'all gotta start talking. We all gotta start talking. We can't expect people to read our minds. We can't expect people to just know we're hurting just because we're screaming, And I talked about that in another episode, like that screaming is your inner child screaming to be heard. But we can listen to that inner child and make it feel heard and understood without the screaming. And that comes from knowing your true wants and desires. That comes from knowing your inner child and knowing that that's hurt, right? So most of us, if you're like me and you're spending your holidays alone, it's very lonely. It feels really isolating and it's very depressing. You see everyone around you celebrating. You see everybody happy. All the pictures with social media. It's disgusting, right? I literally feel like the Grinch. I feel like the Grinch. All because we don't have the family that we want. All because we don't have a family to celebrate that like that with Christmas. Even when I was talking to my family, I was always the afterthought, which probably happens to most of us. Always last minute, just and you can tell you're not wanted, just, Lord, it would just get me. It would just get me when nobody would get my steps on anything, but okay. They did 1 year. One of my family members likes to listen and take little phrases. So they did do that 1 year. Thank you. But you know when you're the afterthought. You know when you're getting that last minute invite the day before. You know they didn't plan that shit the day before. But anyways, getting off topic, it's very lonely, very isolating, and very triggering. So this episode's all about dealing with it, talking about it, and just validating your emotions. I just want you to know it's okay to be sad on holidays. It's okay to be mad. It's okay to want and yearn for the family that you don't have. That's normal. It's normal for anybody missing out on their childhood, right? But we really have to control how we react to these triggers. And that's where an emotional support, support really comes in handy. I have a very great best friend. We've been through it, but we're in a great place, and she's just she's just really great. So, and my partner is really great and understanding as well. I'm definitely not perfect with handling my emotions. I definitely still get triggered and sad and emotional during holidays. So I don't want you to feel like something's wrong with you for feeling that, especially like for us abuse survivors. You feel weird when you think about missing your abuser, right? But, at the end of the day, you're not really missing them. You're definitely not missing the abuse. You're missing the idea. And that's what I felt wrong for being jealous of these other people with their family. But, it's that inner child in us. We want that. And we can't understand, we can't comprehend why our parents can't be like normal parents. But I think it's very important for us to stay active and proactive when it comes to holidays. Whether you want to go out, party, find some friends, do a Friendsgiving, or stay in. My thing is I just need to stay in and be sad. And that's okay. You're allowed to feel your feelings. That's way better than raging, right? And I definitely don't handle it in the best way. My partner really wants me to go to his family's Thanksgiving. I have not been in about 3 years, but that's because it's way too much. The last time I went, I cried because I had to go poop, and I did not want to poop in their house. So I was like, I gotta go. And then I'm like, I can't go home and poop. And then they're gonna know that I had to go home and poop, so I can't come back. I was so triggered. I was enraged. I was furious because of my own limitations, because I was just so anxious, because I was just so triggered, all because I had to poop. And I felt like they were pressuring me, even though that's not true. It was my own pressure that I put on myself. They're like, there's the bathroom. He's like, just go. Everybody poops. But I just could not do it. And then I've just been too embarrassed, and then I just have not been able to go to their house ever since. There's still some BPD emotions with that. I also get triggered by their normalcy. It just makes me very sad and hard to focus, and it makes me just very easily overwhelmed on holidays. So that all goes into mix onto why I don't go. So I just stay home. I cry a little bit. I feel a little bit of resentment, which I'm working on. I definitely don't feel as resentful today as I used to, because, it's not their fault they have a normal family, right? But again, it's just me wishing that I had my own family. But I don't know what the fuck I was saying. But the point is, it's your holiday. You should feel entitled to do whatever the fuck you want to make you feel better. Okay. Whether drinking, as long as you're not hurt, as long as if it's drinking, partying, eating, I decided I'm just going to make a whole Thanksgiving for myself. I'm going to celebrate. Um, Maybe I'll go live that day. I was thinking about that, let me know if you want to tune in. But I just thought it would be, I was like, fuck it. I'm not going to celebrate a holiday that I love just because I don't have a family and I don't want to go to his family. It's like, I'm just can't go. No. Hate me for it. That's just what it is. I can't go there. And there's a lot more to it that I just won't go into than just the pooping story, but I'm just not going there. So I just decided I'm going to be throwing my own Thanksgiving. I bought a whole 16-pound turkey. Yes, I did. Yes, I did, for myself. Okay. And I will be baking a whole thing for myself because why the fuck not? Okay. I like to eat. Okay. And I feel guilty. Like they always send leftovers and I'm not eating their leftovers when I refuse to go to their house. That's just not it. But let's get back on track. Let's stop talking about me. You. So how do you know if you're triggered? And how do you know if you're having a BPD episode? Again, it comes to knowing yourself. It all looks very different to every individual. But for me, it's the heat, the instant anger. I'm very irritable. And I can now realize when I'm splitting. I start to hate. I'm not a hateful person, but if I feel hatred, I'm usually splitting. Unless you really did something really fucked up to me. It takes a lot for me to hate somebody, really. But so I know if I feel that hatred in my gut, I'm splitting. But just because you're crying, just because you're sad, or just because you're mad does not mean you're splitting. We are allowed to have our emotions, and that's so important. So if you are going to your family's Thanksgiving and they are toxic and they are abusive, just know it's very important to set those boundaries. Do not let these people run over you just because they're your family, just because it's a holiday. You see on TikTok, you see on Instagram, you see on Facebook, all these funny videos of these family members, picking on one member, bullying, all in the name of fun. It's a family get together, calm down. Toxic is toxic, whether it's Thanksgiving, Christmas, or fucking New Year's Eve. Don't matter if it's the 3rd of June. Oh, that's my birthday. Don't matter if it's the 2nd of August. It does not matter when, where, who, what. Do not let them cross your boundaries. And that's how you can avoid a splitting episode and a BPD episode if you are going to your family. It's to maintain those boundaries and stick to them. Because I've learned that when my boundaries are being crossed, that's a big trigger for me, and that's what will cause me to go off, and that's what would infuriate me when people would be like, you're overreacting. I'm like, no, you fucking disrespected me. I can act however I want. Not the case. No. You can act accordingly however you want, as long as it's appropriate. You cannot act however you want just because someone's disrespecting you. Listen to me. You cannot act however you want just because you feel disrespected. Or I feel like that's a little invalidating. Just because someone's disrespecting you or not respecting your boundaries. When someone disrespects your boundaries, disrespects you, then you need to leave. You need to just be like, listen, I'm not going to tolerate this. I'm not going to argue with you. For my sanity, either don't talk to me for the rest of the day or I'm just out of here. I'm quick to go. That's why I got to take my car everywhere. I am leaving when I feel like I need to leave. Okay? And that's a very important tool, because if you're stuck in an uncomfortable situation that you don't want to be in, that's going to trigger you. That's going to cause that episode. And then you get labeled crazy. Because no one talks about why they took you there. They only talk about the reaction. That's why we don't give them a reaction to talk about. We are entitled to our feelings, but we don't have to give them a show. You know, in my younger days, I'm quick to put on a show. Okay, excuse me? I was not the one to be disrespected. And I couldn't, for the life of me, I couldn't understand, you know. I'm like, how am I in the wrong here? And I feel like that's how most of us BPD people feel. How am I in the wrong? I'm the one that's being treated poorly, right? But it's the reaction. You cannot go off. Now you can politely tell someone to fuck off. Like, listen, I do not appreciate the way you're talking to me, and I'm not going to tolerate it. Period. You don't need to explain. You don't need to give them a who, what, when, where, why. Cut it. You're not going to talk to me this way. You're not going to talk about those little side comments. You know, me growing up, you know, my family it wasn't really bad, but, you know, my grandma spread a whole picture of me. I was the monster of the family. So, you know, there would be little side comments. There would be little, you know, stares, you know, he's the crazy one. So I eventually just isolated myself. I spent every holiday in my room. Now, thank God, I'm not forced to go. I'm not invited. I just stay to myself. And that's okay. I do not. We need to get rid of that notion that we just have to tolerate anything and everything just because they're our family. I can't begin to tell you how many times I get, you know, instance, my whole boss pulled me to the side because, you know, she asked me a question. I'm just like, she asked me about my mom or something. And I'm just like, absolutely not. I don't talk to that woman. And she pulled me, she's like, come here for a second. I'm going to need to talk to you. Pulled me in the office and gave me a whole spiel on how that's my mom. I need to have her in my life before it's too late. I need to forget. That's what everybody preaches. You forgive and you forget. You just move on. My family's toxic families are big on this. You don't have to apologize. You just move on and act like it never happened. Like I said in the other episode, how my grandpa would just tell me, he's like, I know your mom's crazy. You know, he would sit me down and be like, I know she's crazy. I know she has stuff wrong in the head, but you just gotta deal with it. You just have to accept the toxic abuse and just act like it doesn't happen. No apology, just, yes, mom. Okay, mom. Whatever you want, mom. That's not how it's supposed to be. You don't have to tolerate that. You don't have to deal with that. You're a grown-ass adult. It's hard. Holidays are hard. Not having a mom, a parent that you so truly desire is difficult. But don't let that bring you down. Spend the holidays however you want. That's how we get through it. We do that self-care and we do what makes us happy. We remove ourselves from toxic situations and triggering situations. Why would you continue to put yourself in a situation that makes you feel like shit? That's what gets me. And why does our families expect us to continue to put ourselves through that? It's crazy. I think that's it. I know I ramble. I hope you like the show. But to summarize, I guess the main point is breathe, breathe, breathe. Do that self-care and celebrate this holiday however you wish. Don't fall into tradition just because you feel forced to. Don't fall back into a cycle of abuse just because you feel like that's what you're supposed to do, just because you temporarily miss them on the holiday. Don't do it. Don't do it. You will regret it when it's 3 years later and you're like, how the fuck did I get back in this situation? How am I still tolerating this? Mm-mm. Mm-mm. This is your time. This is your year, and you only get one. You only get one life. Don't waste it on people that cannot appreciate and value you. Value you. Okay. Okay. And and I want to stress that it's very important to remember this. Just because we have BPD does not mean that our feelings are not real. You're getting triggered for a reason. You're splitting for a reason. Don't let that abusive control that tells you you're wrong for feeling a certain way. Your feelings are invalid. Do not let that get into your head. I know for me, that's that's engraved in my head. So when I feel anything, I feel like I'm wrong for feeling it. No. Mm-mm. You are allowed to feel however the hell you want. Our feelings are here to tell us something. Most of us went through something traumatic. Most of us experienced abuse. And that's why we feel this way. That's why we're triggered this way. So, just love yourself. Do what's best for you. That's all I got to say this week. I absolutely love y'all. I hope you have a fantastic Thanksgiving, regardless of who you're spending it with. If you are spending it alone, tune into my something live. Just follow me on social media so you'll stay tuned to that, because I'll probably go live for a little bit. I've always wanted to try that, but too scared. Anyways, that's all I have. Bye.
Abundance flows to me when I get out of my own way. Life is so easy when I focus on what is great. I am worthy of reciprocated energy. I am worthy of a love that loves as deep as me. I am worthy